And sticking with the theme of politics, Nicola Sturgeon has been on the stage and speaking out about all her plans for Scotland. It is, of course, the SNP's conference right now, but one of the reasons that she's been making headlines, I have to say, over the weekend she was talking and said, and I quote, she detests the Tories and everything they stand for. She's subsequently been asked whether or not she kind of stands by that. She makes no apology for it. She expanded on a little bit, but the sentiment of it, she says, is there and it's valid and it's how she feels, Dominique.
Number one, I think that sort of language does reflect a general trend that you do see on the left. And I've said this so many times, for people on the left, politics is incredibly more personal for them. Your political views is an indicator of your moral values, your moral standing, how valuable you are as an individual for a lot of people on the left. And sadly, Nicola Sturgeon, she has reinforced that by saying that she detests the Tories. And when she went into a bit more of why she says this, she says that, you know, she's not talking about individual Tory voters. I think it's quite naive to suggest that it can only be isolated to the government, because we see Tory voters receiving abuse from general members of the public because of the actions of the government they support every single day. Secondly, her justification was that, you know, they've put in place policies that have destroyed so many lives. I mean, I could say the same about Nicola Sturgeon, about the failing Scottish NHS, about the failing Scottish education system, about the fact that, you know, Scotland has the highest alcohol death rate in the UK. I could say that's as a result of Nicola Sturgeon's evil socialist policy, so therefore I detest the SNP. But I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say it's a party that has an ideology that I don't support.
And you're saying this is more often than not coming from the left.
Yeah.
But a couple of years ago, Emily Thornberry actually said, I'll make sure I get my words right, that she hated the SNPs. And at the time, Nicola Sturgeon came out and said, basically chastised this and said, hate is not a good emotion to have in politics. So, to me, there's a lot of hypocrisy here, because on the one hand, you're criticising someone that hates your party and saying that hate isn't good, and then on the other side, saying that you detest the Tories. Where do you stand on this? Is this a problem of the left?
She probably forgot she said that.
Yeah. Well, luckily, GBNews is here to remind you.
Well, I don't think we should talk about hating each other, and I do disagree terribly with what Dominique said. I don't hate what you said. I merely disagree with it very strongly. I think it's a massive generalisation to talk about people on the left in that way. We won't list them all now. There's lots of things people on the right have done over many decades. But let's talk about Nicola Sturgeon. You know, she wants to break up the UK. She's decimating public services.
No, before you move me on to her policies, I do want to pick back up on this kind of hatred thing. Because, you know, we're seeing these we're seeing these political party conferences at the moment. And to me, when you actually look at the reaction of people outside, the level of protest, etc., there is a distinction between the way Tory MPs have been treated when they've arrived for their conference, the heckling, the abuse and all the rest of it. I'm playing some of it now. I think this is this one Michael Fabricant? Yeah. Look at this. If you're listening, not watching, Michael Fabricant, he's just trying to do his job, you know, go into the conference. He's got some guy coming right up into his face, screaming goodness only knows what. And Michael Fabricant is a better man than me, because I'd be shoving that guy straight over if he was in my face like that. You know, he's very professional. He responds, he goes about his day. Why should he have to accept that? Because I didn't see anything like that, and I don't see anything like that when Labour MPs seem to get together on the whole.
Well, no one should face abuse when they do their job, full stop. I've no idea who this heckler was or person, if they were shouting verbal abuse, and I've no idea if they have anything to do with the left or the Labour Party, so we've got to be wary of making assumptions.
There is a pattern, though, of people on your side of the aisle getting very, very nasty and very emotional. Even some polls have suggested that those on the left are likely to end friendships over political views, to not want to be in a relationship with someone with different political views or with someone that voted Brexit. So even in terms of actual studies that have been done, there does seem to be more of this sort of hateful attitude amongst those on the left. And I think that it's mostly explained by what I said, which is that left-wing people do view politics as incredibly more personal than other political
Do you
ideologies.
recognise that
I mean,
or
would
not?
you agree with that? I think that's fair.
No, not at all. And I know it's your job to kind of intervene, but do let me finish the answer, because I think these are massive generalisation. There was one poll, you're right, that covered, I think, friendships between people on the left and of other political views. But that was the only kind of point of evidence you cited. I've never insulted anyone because of their politics, and I have lots of friends on the right, including some of whom have been Tory candidates as well as on the left. But you've got to be really wary of these generalisations. I would say, one, there's no place for abuse, full stop. We saw Michael Fabricant, Tory MP, showing restraint. I suspect if you talk to Blair-era ministers, they would say of 15, 20 years ago, the party in government receives more abuse because they're making changes, and abuse is wrong, whoever it's directed towards and whatever point in time it comes.